Hey everyone, before we kick this episode off, I urge everyone listening to like and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you may get your podcast from. So if you listen to us on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating, or also subscribe to us on Spotify. And I urge all of our listeners to head to our website, and you can get more than just our podcast from there. We have news stories all the time there. We have feature articles there. So head to tnpmedia.au. That's tnpmedia.au. All right, without further ado, we'll get stuck into the podcast.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.
Hey, welcome to episode 204 of the Talk and Power podcast. I'm your host, Nick DeChimera. We have some special guests in the studio with us for this episode. From Tits Up Racing, we got Josh, Mike and Pat here with us. Thanks, guys, for joining us on this podcast.
Most welcome, Nick. Nice
pleasure.
to be here.
We've had previously other guests, you probably know them well, from a campaign at Beers, and they've talked up the event quite significantly. So, and we actually spoke about your vehicle on that episode, and we thought, you know, thankfully Josh reached out and said we'd love to have another team on because we don't want to be too biased, too one-sided. But we had the boys from Ramrod on the couple of, when was that, 3 months ago, Denver and Lockie.
Yep.
So when Josh reached out, I said, that'd be pretty cool actually, just get a bit of a different lens on the event. So Tits Up Racing, I know you guys, Josh, I know we caught up with you.
Back, one of the first couple back in 2008, 17, 18.
Yeah, it was a while. And Mike as well. Yeah, we caught
yeah.
up at Collie, and it was the VL back then. We'll talk about the VL a bit later on. I have fond memories of the VL, but
We all do.
we'll talk about that back a bit later on. But talk us through the latest Beers Bar 31 from Collie Motorplex. Tell us a bit about that, how your campaign went at that last one.
Well, I might as well put it over to the boys. They're the drivers.
I think the last one's probably one we want to forget. The last two, to be honest. We didn't have much luck at the full 24-hour where we blew a motor. Mm-hmm. And then we thought we'd outsmart ourselves and build a new motor and have that for the last one at Collie. And that decided to part ways with lots of parts during practice on the Thursday.
Side of the block.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we had a spare motor and we made one motor out of two, but the spare motor was a junkyard dog, as we call it, and it lasted about as long as the original motor. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, these things happen. We'll talk about the car in a moment, but I'll just talk us through what from your point of view, and Denver and Lockie have explained it from their perspective, but explain it from your point of view as well, the appeal of Beers.
I'll leave that one to Mike.
Well, it's just very cheap motorsport. With Pat and I and quite a lot of the other guys that participate in the event have done pretty serious racing ourselves. And the mainstream motorsport nowadays, it's just getting it's political, it's expensive. Over here, there's only two circuits to race on. It's just sort of just getting a little bit. Well, for me, I'm sort of getting on a bit. Sort of not working. I've sort of stopped work, self-employed, and I can't afford to run my race car. So with the Beers, it just allows you to do it with your mates. You know, 3 mates or 4 mates, and it just splits the costs. And it's cheap and cheerful motorsport. It's a good bunch of guys. All the competitors help amongst ourselves. So it's a better form of motorsport as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Blacktop stuff anyway.
Yep.
The camaraderie is great. Just the whole event, the people in it. You know, you got dads with kids and mums, and it's just it's a very family orientated thing. You know, you can go and buy a shitbox car, put a roll cage and some safety gear in it, and come and race. And I think the appeal of that gets a lot of people, and it's grassroots. So.
Is this something that we're missing in mainstream motorsport then? Like the fact that, because if you think back like 40 years ago, a group of guys would get together and build a car and campaign that. But it's morphed into, highly competitive, wallet racing or checkbook racing. So is this a step back towards sort of that, like getting a group of friends getting together and actually having a crack?
I think it is. I mean, you look at even the Hyundais, the Excels and things like that are racing now, it's the budgets for those things are just ridiculous. And the average guy can't afford to race one.
Yeah.
So I think the beers event and what used to be called the Lemons, it just brings people back. And the bang for buck that you get, the amount of seat time that you get in the car, you don't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Unless you go overseas and do, $1 million long distance races. So
For some guys with the local racing, for the amount of seat time and that they get in beers, it's almost a whole season. If you were doing local racing,
most definitely,
yeah. So with the amount of laps and everything, it's bang for the buck is just absolutely incredible.
Yep. So just talk us through that then. I mean, so how do you put a team together then? And sort of like I guess they're friends, but you pick out like friends that are talented in specific areas in terms of putting the car together. Because I did look at the build of the Ute, and we'll talk about the Ute in a moment. But I know you were talking. You called it a shitbox, but it looked a little bit more elaborate than what you're making out.
It's gone that way. I mean, when it first came over in 2016, it was Lemons, and I wasn't involved in the first one. It was Mike and all the other boys that did it, and then they kindly asked me to come along in 2017.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back, but as far as that original bit goes, you'd know what sort of went on with that, with acquiring the VL and.
Well, the VL was just basically with 4 four-wheel drive tyres and wheels. Estimated value around about $250. Wasn't a runner when we got that. Just had the 3-litre Nissan motor in it, and we got it fired up, put a roll cage in it, and basically just put it on the track. Decent tyres and some good brakes, and just had a great time with that VL. And that was the essence of the Lemons. Part of racing there. Then, of course, that just sort of went on for a couple of years, and we looked at overhauling, doing up that engine. And, of course, for those 3-litre engines, fantastic engine, but to do it properly was going to cost about the same as a second-hand, Gen 1 or 2 engine. So that's when we decided to put the V8 into the VL. And, of course, then it's just morphed on to what level it got to before we got the Ute involved. So, but that was back in the good old days as team members, hopefully one a mechanic or at least a couple of good spanner men. Somebody with some good electrical knowledge is pretty handy. Then good drivers, but you've got to have at least 1 or 2 members with a half decent knowledge of how to fix a car.
Okay,
Sure.
I get that. I can see, because like when we had Denver and Lockie on as well, I mean, they're talking about brake caliper changes or disc pad changes, and they're not the sort of things that you can throw anyone in to do. You know what I mean? So they've got to be. You got to have a reasonable level of skill, I would have thought. Let's talk about the Rodeo then while we're here, because as I said, I looked at some photos, and you call it a shitbox, but I looked at some photos of that car in the build. I mean, some of the things that I saw there. Talk us just to start off with. Talk us through the running gear.
The original running gear, when we first bought the Ute, the original running gear on it was the old Isuzu 2-litre or 2.2 litre 4-cylinder 5-speed gearbox and a straight axle diff.
Yep.
My plans were, my dreams were, no, I want to change this and I want to graft something else into it.
Yep.
So a little bit back to True's Beers fashion, where you've got something and you've grafted something else into it, which a lot of people do. So that's when we decided we're going to go the V6 Buick motor. And we got a donor car, and then I thought, well, I might as well put everything in. I might as well put the diff in and get a good gearbox, and it sort of snowballed from there. Yeah,
but I noticed the strut towers were fabbed as well, and so that's what I'm saying. It's not like just it looked like a fair amount of work went into the fab of that car.
I've got a lot of race car fab background.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I wanted my biggest goal was that I wanted everything that was on the VL needed to fit the ute.
Yep.
So I didn't want to end up with 2 race cars with 2 spares packages and everything's different. So the way we sort of thought was, well, let's build the ute like a mirror image of the VL, but it's a ute.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we fabricated the shock towers and everything else. So, it runs the same brakes. It just runs the same suspension. So I can literally pluck anything off the VL and put it into the ute.
Okay, fair enough. No, that makes
and we just sort of thought, well, our spares package for the VL was good. So why go through another spares package? We'll just use what we got.
Yeah. Can you talk us through the cab extension then? Because did I see a cab extension on that as well?
You've got good eyes.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Because I needed to, I thought, well, we don't want to be, crouched up against the steering wheel, and we needed to make it comfortable, starting from the tallest guy, which is Mike, back to short ass me. So that's we sort of thought, well, I can fit in it the way it is, but we'll the only way we could make it work with the roll cage, because I wanted to put a good roll cage in it, because that's one thing that we never skimp on is safety. So it's got a really good roll cage in it. But to get that to work, I needed another foot. So I thought, well, bugger it, I'm just going to cut the cab and extend it, and then I'll shorten the tray and we'll weld it all together and put it on.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard, really. It was just easy to do.
And Pat's sort of underdoing things a little bit there. We also moved the firewall back.
I did move the firewall.
Which makes removing the engine so incredibly easy. It's just like you can see all the bell housing bolts. It's
wow.
In a normal case, so you're used to getting in there with spanners and undoing it all. You can get in there with a ratchet and just undo it all. Yeah, not quite a rattle gun, but he's made it just so much easier to work on. So once again, Pat's years of fabrication, it's his ultimate race car because he's made it himself.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
One of the things the listeners are probably wanting to know, they may have seen, like myself, seen a photo of the car just recently with an LS combo with a 871. Can you talk us through that?
Well, we sort of thought on the off season, we'll just go and do some burnouts and stuff. And
fair enough.
But no. Jokes aside, that's just sitting on there.
Fair enough.
We've got a good friend of mine, Paul Stubber, loves his rat rods. So I picked one up from Bunbury for him and brought it back down to my workshop. It's getting some work done over at the engine man next door. And that one of the jobs is to put a blower on it, and the blower came with it. So when I unloaded everything, I thought, this is going to be good for shits and giggles. So I'm going to stick this onto sit it on top of the LS and take a photo, send it to Josh, and let it go from there.
Done well. It worked. It worked. It got.
Stuck it up on the Facebook page and see, just to show what people, see if we get them to bite and see what we're up to.
Yeah.
Just a bit of shits and giggles.
Because it has got the LS that's going in it. Is in there. So it's sitting on top of the motor that's going in it. But I don't think people really cottoned on to that.
No, I didn't. I saw it was an LS. I saw it was an 871, but I didn't make the connection that you hadn't actually bolted it on. So very well done, Pat, on that.
We do like to stir things up a little bit,
But that's what it's all about, isn't it, as well?
Exactly.
It's creating a bit of attention and a bit to your cause as well.
Yeah.
To what you guys are doing. Let's take a step back then to the VL, and that I remember the VL from when I came down to Lemons. I think we're thinking 2018, so that's 6 years ago already.
Yeah.
Back then, correct me if I'm wrong, but it had a massive appendage on the roof.
It did. Yes, it did. Yeah.
So, talk us through that. So that was raising, at the time, I do recall that was raising awareness for prostate cancer. Am I right?
Yeah. Prostate cancer and men's mental health.
Yep.
So we sort of jumped onto the bandwagon quite predominantly with that. And my son, he's quite artistic in his ways, and I've got 2 polystyrene foam blocks and joined them together, and he crafted a 6-foot penis and testicles with it. And his, it's really quite real. It's I just could not believe, Tom, how much time did you spend looking at dick, mate? It's just, but it worked well, and we got the message out there, and I'm a prostate cancer survivor, and
I recall that in our discussion.
You really wanted to push the barrow on that, and just prostate cancer awareness. Just get your PSA done, and like a very good friend of mine's just discovered he's got prostate cancer just a month or so ago. So it does happen to everybody. So
Yeah.
and it still goes on. It stops for no man.
No, definitely. It's
We did another thing, just say, getting back to what Mike was saying with promoting the message for prostate cancer. We did, because all the teams get dressed up and themed up. We actually, the first year we did it, all you guys got dressed up with inflatable penises. Yeah, and that was quite a entrance they all made into the drivers' briefing. Luckily, I missed out on that, thank God. But that was quite a scene to see 5 guys trying to waddle down the pit lane at Collie.
They were a blow-up suit that you put yourself into, and then it had a little motor with a battery in it that you tucked inside the pocket, and it blew up.
Yeah.
So you had this, massive penis and then 2 balls down the bottom that you were trying to waddle with. So yeah, that was hilarious.
So when someone says we're being dicks, we can say we literally were.
Yeah.
But that's all part of, as I said, that's part of your, I guess, mandate as well. What there's a cause behind what you're doing, and that's a great cause as well. Bringing awareness to that,
very much so.
to that back then.
Yeah.
I saw you guys actually unload at Carco Raceway, and they call this beers budget, but it didn't look like a budget transporter, that's for sure.
No, that was just the one we got from Coates Hire. We hired from the weekend.
Of course,
that's all they had, so we had to take it. Yeah. But no, that was So with Pat, with his doing stuff with Paul Stubber, he was doing some work on his truck. So
yeah, we had the truck there, and my truck was in Bunbury. I'd done a swapsy. And it seemed like a fair swap to me. And Stubber didn't really agree to the swap, but I thought it was fair.
Well, he was away. He was
away in America, so he sort of had to agree.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you knew where he hid the key, so that made it easy.
That's right.
Yeah. So, for the uninitiated, for someone listening to the podcast or watching the podcast, this episode, how would you tell someone that's interested in getting into this? Because we actually talked when we had Denver and Lockie on. We kind of went away and thought, that would be pretty cool to do one day. We wouldn't mind having a crack at it ourselves, but it hasn't happened yet. But what's your message to people that are listening today or watching to get involved in and put in a car forward?
Well, if it's your passion and it's something that you want to do, definitely do it. And it's not a hard thing. You find a car to your budget. Whether it costs you $500 or a couple of $1,000, you're going to end up spending a little bit of money on the safety gear. Because you got to have, you got to have the seat, you got to have the roll cage, you got to have the belts, you need all your gear yourself. So there is a little bit of cost involved, but when you consider that it's 5 mates doing it, the cost, you can split it up and it doesn't turn out that bad.
Yep.
And the rules are pretty open, so to speak. That there's, like I said, the safety side of it is big. So you can't rock up with something that's got a roll cage made out of exhaust pipe that Joe Bloggs down the road has tried to weld together with a stick welder, because that just won't get past. And we're actually the scrutineers that check everything. And to be honest, I'd have to say the presentation of cars is actually really good. It's fantastic.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Considering 90% of the cars are built by the guys themselves.
Yep. Okay.
So it's not expensive to get into.
And
really.
People are taking it on quite seriously in that aspect of the build. There are no shortcuts on that. So it's good that message is getting across to people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you don't have to do it like we do. I mean, I know there's probably 10 or so teams that do spend the money like we do, and we enjoy it, and we just want to go out there. We're not going out there to win anything. We just want to go out and race a car and have fun and be part of the whole group. But for someone that wants to go out that's never driven a race car before and put a team together, it's not hard to do. And the guys that run it, Ian and Keelan and that, they're very helpful. They'd be straight into giving guidance and help on people on how to build cars, suggestions, and it's not a hard thing to do.
Yeah, okay. Right. Because before you arrived, I was talking with Josh, and I discussed to him, I asked if someone, for a 24-hour event like at Carco just recently, how many guys, in terms of, with the exception of drivers, how many additional crew do you think is something that's appropriate for that event, to run that event?
Probably 3 or 4. I don't think you need that much. Obviously, refueling, you can swap your guys around with fueling. Again, it depends what sort of car you got. Whether you got to do brake pad changes and rotor changes. So you need people that are capable of doing that. But there's crews there that only sort of have the 5 drivers or 6 drivers, and then they have 2 or 3 crew.
Wow.
And that's all you need. You don't have to have the big massive group of guys there. They can come down, watch, and if they want to jump in, but you have the core group of people there that know what they're doing. And
yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's interesting because it does appear because the cars. I mean, you're not hanging around either. Like, I mean, it's not. They're not like.
They get driven hard. The boys don't mess around when they get out there.
Yeah, I know.
White line fever happens as soon as they pull out of the pits.
Oh yeah, the red mist comes on.
So, if you were to build a car from scratch, do you recommend that, or do you recommend like trying to find something that's like an ex race car?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, there's a lot of old Falcons and Holdens around from the particular series that was running that are. Yeah, the motors are buggered, but the roll cage is the big thing. If you got the roll cage in there, well, that's a lot of the cost saved there. And just sometimes doing an engine swap, and as Pat was indicating before, there's a Sylvia running with a Nissan petrol motor in it, turbo diesel motor. That thing's just been a legend all the time it's been running. I think that was one of the first cars to run on the early days, and it's still going. So. The organisers sort of encourage a different thing. So the more inventive you are, the better things are. At the last event, there was a Subaru that had a horrible 6-cylinder Subaru engine, and it was just an absolute nightmare. All the boys turned up just the last meeting with a Honda.
Something, yeah.
A really fast Honda engine in it, out of the Type R. Whatever, that thing went like a rocket, and that was just a front-wheel drive, and they had half the engine sticking out the bonnet.
Stuck out the bonnet about that much.
Yeah,
and they got the prize for being the most creative, team for the event, and they did a really good job of it. It was amazing. Went like a cut cat.
It actually ran pretty well, didn't it? It was in top 10.
Straight out of the workshop floor. It was just a credit to them. So it's just stuff like that which could be encouraged. So an old race car would be a good idea because you got a roll cage.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, fair enough. Look, outside of beers, give us a bit of a brief about yourselves as well. I know, Josh, you gave me a bit of a brief about yourself. So outside of when you're not doing beers, I don't know how you find the spare time, to be honest with you, but working you just gave me a rundown on the last 3 weeks, and I was feeling tired after that. So give us a rundown on what you're outside of beers, what you get up to.
You're not the only one was feeling tired after those 3 weeks. But no, I'm the only one of the team that doesn't have any racing experience, but I am a racing nut, as people know me. But I actually do photography as well, motorsport photography. I've been doing that for quite a while, and I'm actually do a lot of speedway, and I'm down one of the photographers for the Perth Motorplex on the speedway side, and I also do travel around WA with the limited sprint cars. And do their stuff. So like I was in Bunbury on Saturday night, more of the weekend after that. I've got the Motorplex this weekend, and then I'm down in Albany. So, but yeah, other than that, keeps me busy during the summer months.
Yep.
I think I've only got 3 weekends off between now and April, so flat out. And then rest of the time, I'm just coming out and helping down these boys as much as I can and having a good time.
Yeah, because I do remember you from at Lemons, and as I said, that was way back in 2018, 19, around there. So you've obviously been involved. So even when you're not taking photos, you're actively crewing.
Yeah, I've been with. So Mike was in the team for the very first one, and I was down there just along for the ride, along for the after party, really. And I've only missed, I think, 2 or 3.
Yep.
Just due to dates lining up. I've been travelling for Speedway, but I've been at almost every one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Oh, it's as I said, you're a busy man. It must be difficult. Finding time to.
It can be, but when it's your hobby, when it's your passion and something you love, you make the time.
Yeah, that's right. Of course. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like when the dates get announced for each beers event, the first thing I do is go into work the next day and just go holidays. So the boss doesn't like when she gets all these holiday applications for me when she knows it's motorsports.
They must understand by now.
They do, but Yeah, they do, but then I'll put it like that.
Don't need to say anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair
I
enough.
don't want to incriminate myself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Pat, how about yourself? Give us a brief rundown.
Yeah, well, I've got a mezzanine floor business, so like steel fabrication, mezzanine floors and stuff in Balcatta, and probably had that for 8 years now, I think. Mm-hmm. So a boilermaker welder by trade, and did a lot of rigging work in my younger days. But as far as motorsport, I got dragged when I was 16 years old. I got dragged in by a fella called Paul Stubber, which everyone in WA knows, and I had to do some welding in the back of his first transporter that he bought, and so there's little old me, hello Mr. Stubber, and getting into it and getting fed by his wife Alice, and then he decided that I was a half decent egg, so he said, I want you on my crew, come and help us, and yes, I've been with him ever since doing motorsport stuff, pretty much travelled all over the world, racing with him, done a lot of speedway as well. He's just finished doing speedway, and it was probably I'd say probably about 10 years ago now he decided that I was trustworthy to start driving some of the cars.
Yep.
So I got roped into doing a lot of the testing, so when he's away off galloping around I get to test the cars, and then when we were doing speedway he said, do you want to have a skid in a late model? And so I sort of got thrown into one of them and thought, no, I can do this. And did start doing some of the winter stuff where Josh helped. Josh was one of the key members of the crew.
Yep.
And I sort of went all right. I hit a lot of things and had
as
a couple
you
of
do.
whoopsies here and there.
Yeah,
but,
a couple. I think you joined the Upside Down Club.
I joined the Upside Down Club at Ellenbrook.
Yep.
But great fun. So motorsport. I've had that passion forever. Not through family or anything, but like I said, once I started working for Paul, it just snowballed from there, and I can't. Like I said, I just got back from Phillip Island yesterday, and then we had beers prior to that, and then I was at the Bend, so travel all over the place.
Yeah, okay,
it's good. It's good fun, but it is hard to juggle everything when you've got when you got your own business and that's going flat out. So I've got to try and keep an eye on that as well. But the motorsport passion has been there for a long time, and one of the things that I really starting to get into now and really enjoy is with these guys is the HSV club, doing the sprints and just the HSV days and that. So I really want to get more into that, which is very sociable as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know, you had a reasonable display down at Targa this year as well, the HSV club. It was quite well attended, I must say. So, Mike, give us a bit of a rundown on your background as well.
Originally from New Zealand, motor mechanic by trade, and got over here to Australia in 1977. In fact, I rocked into Perth the day Elvis Presley died. So, then got here and, the weather's too good for working on cars, so I got into roof plumbing. So, sort of walked into a business, and I've been a roof plumber for the last 42 odd years, and retired a few years ago. But I've always been interested in motorsport. Did a fair bit of racing in New Zealand, and came over here and had an old VB SLE Commodore and joined the HSV Owners Club, and that was the first motorsport club I'd ever joined, and I'm a life member of the club now, and my true core of friends is with the HSV Owners Club, and of course the beers community. So and I've just loved motorsport. I've raced a VH Commodore for the last 30 odd years, and I've just moved that on to a very capable young man who's taking it over, and now just concentrating on the beers aspect of things. So it's just sort of quieting the costs down. So that's just all my circle of friends in motorsport. I haven't got too many non-motorsport friends. It's everybody's got petrol in their veins. So it's a very good community to be around anyway. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, most certainly. I mean, that's the experience for most people these days. Is that once you're involved, it's like, we more lean towards drag racing, obviously, but we made lifelong friends from at the drags as well, and it's no different to what you guys do.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
I know, especially the circuit and the tarmac scene as well. It's quite close knit, so it's great to hear. time for sponsors. Give us a plug to some of your sponsors. I know it's Auto One Balcatta. I love the crew at Auto. I'm always in and out of Auto One in Balcatta. I haven't.
So are we.
Yeah, I bet.
We're next door.
Fair enough. So yeah, the team at Auto One in Balcatta, Bar 31, beers, Mez store, is it?
Yep. Mez store. That's
me.
Pat.
Oh, that's you. So,
Yep.
Okay. Sir Henry's Northbridge, Ian Jeffrey Motors in Malaga, Robbie Cox Gearboxes. Do you want to give those guys a bit of a rundown or a bit of a brief? Give them a bit of a plug.
Yeah, Josh can do that.
Okay. Well, I'll just get the list here just so I can remember. We'll say Auto One Balcatta. They've come on just recently, just helping us with parts. Like I say, they're next door to Pat at Mez store. So Pat was running in and out, so they come on board and helped us out. And Bar 31, who actually sponsor beers as well, that's Paul Stubber's bar down in Bunbury. So he's jumped on board.
Yep.
And then obviously Mez store with Pat.
Yep.
And then all part of beers is also the guys have got Sir Henry's pub in Northbridge there.
Okay.
And they're one of our sponsors, but a series sponsor as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Ian Jeffrey Motors. So that's pretty self-explanatory. That's actually Ian Jeffrey himself who runs beers and has looked after that now for 5 years or something now. He's done
it'll
it.
be
5 or 6
years.
5 or 6, yeah.
Coming into 6, yeah.
And then we've got Robbie Cox's Gearboxes up in York.
Okay.
Robbie is one of the drivers on the team, comes down and helps the guys on the weekends with the car, and he's come on board now, and he's 2 years now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a classic team member, good with the spanners, good with electrics, good driver, good team member. So he's a new member of the team, a good all-rounder.
Yeah, okay.
Nice guy.
He's the youngest one out of all of us, and he doesn't drink a lot. So while he services the car and looks after things, we go off to the bar.
Fair enough. Fair
Exactly,
enough.
yeah.
Isn't it funny? York is sort of a bit of a hub for motoring, isn't it? There's like a lot of mechanics and whatnot have come out of York, down in the wheat belt town.
There has been, yeah.
Their Mark's workshop as well down there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Robbie races late models as well, not as much as he'd like to, but he puts his kids love speedway. So his kids race speedway, which he absolutely loves. So he's a good, valuable member for us.
Yep.
He's been bitten by the bug. He loves beers now.
We've dragged him in, and he doesn't want to leave now. So
signed a lifetime contract. That's it. He's done.
Fair enough. And Auto One in Balcatta, I know the guys well there. Kira does a magnificent job running that store, and is Trevor still there, or is he?
Trevor's still there, but he only works. I think he works 2 days a week.
Yep. So if you're in the Balcatta area, it's like, because you can go to the big brand stores and get the big brand stuff, but if you need something that is important, I know Auto One Balcatta always helps out. They've got all the stuff
Auto One
there.
have been very helpful to the whole community. Adam Margarine in the Morley branch, he's another key member of just getting into the team stuff and helping. A lot of brake pads are bought with the beers community, so he helps a lot of teams out with brake parts and components as well. So he lends a big hand to it.
Yeah. Auto One was one of our first sponsors, actually. So big shout out to Auto One. And as I said, I'm in and out of Balcatta all the time, and they're always so helpful there.
Well, we're next door, so if you're ever...
I'm going to pop in.
Yeah, pop in, because that's where all the cars are.
Yep,
stuff,
okay.
So,
Workshop out the back there?
Come in.
Yep. Well, that's my, that's where I live, Balcatta. So I'm
I
Balcatta
only
boy.
just work just across the road from Pat as well. So
Okay.
I sneak over there occasionally if things are quiet. And,
Oh, you're that store then. Okay, now I know.
Yeah,
I know
that
which
store
store
right
you
across-
are now.
right across the
Okay,
road, yeah.
you're right. Okay, yeah. It's a busy one, that one as well.
It is, very busy.
If someone wants to find out more about you guys, Tits Up Racing, where can they find you?
We're on Facebook. Tits Up. We've got our own Tits Up Racing Facebook page that I kind of look after. And Pat jumps on with a few things we do to have a bit of fun and stir people up and just let them know what happens with the racing. And then we're also on Instagram as well.
Okay.
We throw a few things on, have a bit of fun with it, and just let people know what we're doing.
Fair enough. No, excellent. Can I ask where the name came from? What was the incarnation of the name?
Well, we started out with Balls Out Racing.
Yeah, that's what.
It's just
right.
terminology, Balls Out, and we'd sort of had a fair bit of the bloke's appendage for quite a few years. Then I thought we might as well give the girls a shot. So Tits Up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where Tits Up came from, and I actually had a mannequin, half of a mannequin on the roof of the car that was on a piece of kebab belt, and as you go faster and faster, the mannequin would go back, and as you take your foot off the gas, this thing would pop up, so Tits Up Racing. Yeah. But she only lasted about a lap because she flapped around a fair bit.
She flapped
so
around.
We pissed her off real quick.
Had to get her off. Yeah.
And the name has just stuck from there. But I think we're going to be having a new name.
I think we're going to have a name change.
Name change
for next year.
Soon, so
Okay, all right.
Just to break it up a bit.
Yep. So this will coincide with the LS
yes, correct.
change.
Yeah.
Righto. Okay. All right. Well, we look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Guys, look, thank you very much for coming in. It's been great having you here.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
When next year's over, we'll catch up again, no doubt. Or I'm going to try and get to either Collie or Carco.
Yeah.
One of the two
well,
next year.
Was it April, June, and October? Next year?
It might be July, either June or July. So we have to wait until the supercar calendar's out to get the dates for Carco.
Mm-hmm.
But we've definitely got April and October, and we will probably, if everything pans out, we'll do Hidden Valley and Darwin as well.
Oh wow! Okay,
Yeah,
that's one thing I didn't mention. Yeah, that does go to the Northern Territory beers as well.
We've done one there.
Yep.
Which that was a bit of a trial thing, to be honest, because it didn't gain a lot of traction. But hopefully now it will.
Yep. Wasn't supported locally up there, or
not really? I think they sort of came. I think they thought that we were taking money out of Darwin.
Okay.
If you know what I mean,
Yep.
Instead of trying to, no, we're just here to have a good event, and we don't do this for profit or anything. So, but I think they sort of looked at it and went, well, you guys are here to make money and then take it back home again.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is not what it's about. So.
yeah, okay, yep, no, fair enough. All right, yeah, guys, thank you very much.
No, pleasure. Thank
Josh,
you.
Pat, Mike, it was great to
Pleasure.
see the both of you again, and it's nice to meet you, Pat. It's
No problem.
glad you could make it along tonight, and
Great fun.
yeah, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
See you soon. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for having us.
Mate.
No worries.